right, welcome back to our special new podcast series, The 20-Minute Investor, where my business partner Nathan and I bring you actionable nuggets and insights from our real estate investing journeys in bite-sized 20-minute episodes. I'm Aaron Ami. My wife and I built a portfolio of 8 cash-flowing rentals across 3 states while working full-time and raising a young family.
And I'm Nathan Murith. I'm a husband, a father, a tech executive who built a portfolio of cash-flowing rentals across 2 states over 2,000 miles away.
Together, we co-founded the Remote Real Estate Academy, where we coach investors on how to build their own portfolios of cash-flowing rentals from anywhere in the world. All right, this week, we are going to pull back the curtain a little bit on the Academy itself, since we've recently made a few updates. So as we're recording this, we're towards the beginning, inching towards the middle of February, and we are happy to have rolled out a couple new features for all of our members. So previously, I'll kind of, tee this up and then get your thoughts on it too. But previously, we had a couple different tiers of membership, and the add-on coaching feature was a separate package. But what we decided is that the coaching and the direct access and that quick feedback that people get is really at the core of the value of what we're able to offer inside of the Academy. So we rolled in all of our kind of one-on-one coaching features into the basic membership. And then we also raised the price a little bit to reflect that. Kind of tactically, what that means is when members join, they usually get a one-on-one call with us where we'll work and understand their individual situation and try and give them really actionable steps to start taking right away. And then we've built out a success path where, it's step-by-step, everything you need to do to buy your next rental. Well, I think part of the problem, and when most people take courses, is they get really amped up and really excited at the beginning. They see what they need to do, and then life happens. And our entire program is built around the idea that life happens. And so it's that extra accountability and the quick ability to book time and lean in on the coaching that keeps people moving forward. And when they hit those friction points, it keeps them from giving up, which is what is most important to us. So in a nutshell, those are the big changes. That's the biggest change we made. And the other one is we added small mastermind groups into the mix. So before I keep babbling, Nathan, what do you think about these changes? I know we are excited about them, but how do you feel it's going so far?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a simple way to put it, but I think you said it yourself. I think the 2 key words that I caught in your intro here describing what we changed in the Academy, the first one is feedback, right? You talked about students like to get feedback on where they are, what they're doing, how they're progressing, but just like the students like to get feedback, we also like to receive feedback ourselves. And a lot of what we have heard from the folks in the Academy now is that the most value that they get really is from direct access to other folks, including yourself and myself. And we heard that feedback loud and clear. And we've always tried to do a very, high quality, white glove type treatment and academy for our students. So we listened and then we changed it based on feedback that we received. So I think generally speaking, since the rollout, our existing students have been saying nothing but great things, I think, around the feedback. And the other word that you said, I think is critical in students achieve their goals and progress towards their goal is really that accountability piece, right? Whether you're in a smaller accountability group or when you have direct access to you or I, it just holds people way more accountable, which is one of the best ways to truly make progress towards your goal.
Yeah, I think the access and just the ability to ask questions and know that you're going to get a quick answer from not only one, but 2, at least the 2 of us, and then potentially and probably at least 1 or 2 of the other community members. That's, to me, very valuable as somebody who not too long ago went through coaching programs and as somebody who's part of several other communities. Like those are the things that I value. So I like to put myself in the mind of if I was a consumer of my own product, this is what I would want. And then, of course, we also poll and keep a really close pulse on the member experience for our existing members. And so we oftentimes ask them, what is it that you need more of? Where are the points you're getting stuck? And I think that's the other thing we realized is there's a few really common points in the journey for out-of-state investing where people get stuck. Picking a market is usually the first one. And that's pretty early in the journey, right? So in the spirit of getting people not to give up, being there and being available to help people when they hit that wall, it's like, hey, I'm staring at a blank map and there's 20 places that could work and I just don't know how to get past. I don't know how to filter down. Like helping them past that first point, just even as an example, it could be the difference between them actually taking action and ending up buying a rental property or giving up. And there's
Giving
two or
up,
three
yeah.
more like that along the path. And so I think this change makes it easier and it removes the friction for when they hit those points, so that we're really trying to create a culture where nobody ever suffers in silence and they have a pretty almost immediate outlet to work past their bottlenecks.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's happened how many times in the last few weeks, either to close a deal or to select a market. I mean, those are some of the classic cases. And we were just answering a couple of these, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, but yeah, it definitely helps for sure.
Yeah, and a couple other things we're rolling out. So I mentioned the small mastermind groups. So fun story, Nathan and I used to be in a different program together, and that's actually how we met, is that we were in a 4-person small mastermind style group within that community, and we met every single week. And the format was pretty simple, right? It was basically, what are you working on? How's everything progressing based on your goals? But also like, where are you getting stuck? And we'd find these common points of maybe
And
that
what help
week.
do you need as well, right? It's where are you stuck and kind of what help do you need, if anything? And there's always something helpful that your mastermind peers can say or do, in my experience at least.
Yeah, for sure. And so like we would, the thread would be different every week. It wasn't the same. It wasn't just a status report. It was, here's the status, but also, like you said, where are the bottlenecks? And we would coach each other, right? There was no master
Mhm.
facilitator. It was a peer group. And that made it really fun because I am always of the mind, especially obviously we're both in coaching.
Yeah.
We like helping other people. And that gave us some experience helping each other as we were scaling out our initial portfolios. But I bring that up because, that structure obviously resonated with us, and it's even how we met and how this
Mhm.
partnership and academy came to be. So it's really cool to see full circle. Now we're installing that same structure within our community, and it's student led, right? So we have one of our more active members, Kyle, who is leaning in to kind of help coordinate and facilitate, but it's going to be that peer experience where people can really help each other. And it also is going to provide one extra touch point for people. Nathan and I only have so much time that we can stretch, and we have other events that we're planning and that we put on, and we only have so many hours in the day we can commit. So this is a nice way for people to get additional value from the community without it having to take up yet another kind of cycle for us, so that we can focus on going out and building the relationships, bringing additional content, workshops, etc. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited.
Yeah, 100%. And there's also just simply we're putting this in place, and we speak so highly of masterminds and, peer groups like this because they work, right? They work. They've always worked. Was it Think and Grow Rich? Napoleon Hill, the author, Think and Grow Rich,
That was his idea. Yeah.
1937, I think the book. That was all about working through those problems in mastermind groups. So almost 100 years old, we're already talking about these mastermind groups. So
It's
they
funny,
work.
just one small like funny tangent is I'm in several masterminds now. You and I have been in masterminds together. We're
Mhm.
now encouraging this format in our community. And I was explaining to my mom the last time she visited about some of these groups, and I kept using the term mastermind, and she never stopped to correct me that she didn't know what it was. But finally, I had said it so many times that she was like,
She-
Aaron, what is a mastermind? Like, what are you
I
talking
love
about?
it.
And
Love
so I
it.
was like, oh crap, like I'm definitely in an echo chamber where everyone's in a mastermind and everyone's buying real estate. Sometimes I have to remind myself to pop that bubble a little bit.
So what do you say? That's a good point. Maybe segue to that, staying on this tangent, but what do you say? Because I've heard this before. I'm curious to hear your answer. What do you say when people tell you or talk to you or like answer you when you're talking about mastermind that, especially if it's not led by a more seasoned, coach or subject matter expert, whatever that may be, what do you answer when people tell you, yeah, but that's the blind leading the blind, right?
Yeah, that risk is 100% there, right? If you just put, let's say, 4 people who are all in the early stages of their investing journey in a room together, and you don't give them any format or structure or set them up with guardrails, then what you will probably end up with is one or maybe 2 of them dominating the conversation, getting stuck on one topic for a really long time that may not benefit the whole group. Like, you might accomplish things, but you probably will not accomplish the intended purpose without some of those
Mhm.
guardrails. And so I think that's totally a risk, and I would readily acknowledge that. And so just as an example, like what we set Kyle up with, so Kyle's part of other communities. He's seen different types of accountability groups, and he's familiar with the concept. But I worked with him and gave him a structure similar to what you and I used to use in
Mhm.
the other community we were in. And I said, hey, here's the guardrails, right? And like, be on the lookout for this, right? Yeah. If somebody's talking monologue for too long, like you got to cap it, like try and keep some form of time. Don't be too rigid, but don't be too loose.
Hmm.
And, I'm not going to micromanage him through that, but I think just by giving him the guardrail, it at least sets them up better for success and prevents what you're talking about, whereas this like blind leading the blind. And I also think you need at least one person who is comfortable jumping in, right? If somebody's kind of going off track and stuff.
Yeah, and just for the sake, so I agree 100% with that. So maybe those are signals for people to watch to decide or notice whether or not it's time to jump out of a mastermind if it's not working because of the reasons you're discussing. But just for the sake of this conversation, taking the other side of the argument here, I've found that there's always value in having others respond to what you are saying in your position because it just gives you different perspectives, different opinions, different vantage points for your particular problem. And if you listen carefully, right, and you pay attention, there's always nuggets of information and help, right? Just hearing from others because we all get stuck in our own heads, I think, for the most part.
And you have to believe that, right? If you're there and you only want to hear the sound of your own voice and you only care about
Well, yeah.
sharing your perspective without taking other people's in, then that's not going to be a good long-term culture fit for
It's
that
called a
type
solo
of group.
mind, no, not a mastermind.
Exactly. So I think it's a really good question. And these groups, like, we're going to keep a pulse and make sure that everyone's getting value out of it. But I think the way I think about it is layers of support, right? You and I talked about when people join,
100%.
they get their call with us, right? That is to set the baselines, come up with an action plan, get them some quick wins and making progress and building momentum. But then the journey from there, let's say the initial path is 12 to 13 weeks. That's a lot of time to lose steam or lose excitement. Like we said earlier, you hit those friction points. There's a lot of opportunities to give up. And the more layers of support you have around you, the less likely you are to do that. So if you have one of these peer groups where everyone's working through stuff together and you have access to book the hot seats with us, if you, let's say the peer group might not have a certain expertise, well, they can then escalate, right? They can
Yep.
escalate to us, or Kyle or any of the members can say, hey, this topic came up in the mastermind group, but we don't quite know how to do it. They can say that in the community or they can book a call and we can help them through that. And then even further, right? If it's not something that we're equipped for, we probably know somebody who can help. And then we can then use our time
100%.
and resources to go find the right person to help solve that problem for the community. And so it's that layered support that allows our members to get the best leverage out of us and out of each other. And I say leverage not as a transactional thing. I just mean literally when we all have limited time and energy, if you set the structure up the right way, then they're going to get the best bang for their dollar and their time.
Yeah, they're building relationships, they're building friendships, they're networking. And if you didn't listen to the previous episode of this conversation here, go check it out because we talk about how that can pay dividends in the future. So it's a great thing to be part of.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's see, we got about 5 minutes left to stick to our 20-minute timer. But the other kind of decision we made, which is going off of some stuff that we started last year, is that we'll do one market spotlight per month. Those have been popular. So basically, a lot of people can teach the fundamentals of out-of-state investing. But what we're doing is reaching into our networks and finding people in all these different markets who are actively either maybe they're agents or property managers or investors themselves, where if our students or the people that attend these workshops are interested in investing there, they have, they know who to call first, right? Like we're making that first connection for them so that versus them having to just pull up Google or go in Bigger Pockets or go in Facebook groups. And those market spotlights are great because you might learn about a market that was never on your radar. And people are kind of making the case for why they think that those are compelling markets. So just as an example, we already had, what have we done? We've done Chattanooga, we've done Ohio and several cities within Ohio. We have Detroit coming up, and then we have St. Louis and Atlanta in the wing waiting. Did I miss any?
Trying to remember. I'd have to pull it up. I mean, those are the main ones that I can remember. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a solid list. And from the feedback we got from folks in the academy, I think that's one of the preferred kind of like sessions that we do on a monthly basis. And that's primarily because like we were talking about, was it this session or last one? I can't remember. Like people get stuck in there.
Picking a market.
picking a market. Sorry. Yeah. So this really helps them take the elevator instead of the stairs, right?
Yeah. And I think too that, this is another story for when we have more time, but like I made some pretty avoidable mistakes when I did my first truly out of state, sight unseen market in Iowa I didn't know how to build a team as well as I do now. And I made a lot of mistakes with the way I went about building my team. And so these warm connections and having other investors, I mean, that's now a non-negotiable, right? It's in our
Oh,
curriculum. It's
100%.
in our process is like, you never only take one viewpoint and you always want like a common point of connection. And
Yeah.
so, it's tough for us because if we're bringing people in that we've never personally done a deal with, it is inherently a little bit of a risk, right? Like we don't want to endorse people outright if we've never done business with them.
Of
However,
course.
like we are usually having several conversations with these people before we decide to bring them in. And usually they'll have a mutual connection or there will be some kind of check and balance within our
Hmm.
own personal networks that if they did something, it would have a consequence beyond just offending us. It would, compromise their reputation too. So it's
Of
something we don't
course.
take
Yeah.
lightly when we bring our own network into the community. Like we do it with the full understanding of the responsibility that people are trusting us, in a sense to bring good actors in. And so I want to say that because I do understand the inherent risk that comes with that.
Absolutely. Our brand's behind it. Our names are behind this. So we're extremely cautious and careful and do our diligence. So, but it's totally a fair point.
Indeed. And then the last little nugget, and maybe this will be a teaser for a different time, right? Is that we've been talking to a couple property managers, and then I had a couple conversations this week with lenders who have access to like some different types of loan products that are slightly outside of the box that can work for self-employed people, or even different ways to kind of leverage the equity in people's primary homes. And so we're looking at potential workshops on that. It's like some alternative financing strategies that could be fun.
Interesting. Good teaser. That's a good topic. It's always where do I find the deals and where do I find the money once you've identified your market, right? But yeah,
Exactly. So, well, we are coming right up on the 20-minute mark. Speaking of 20 minutes, our most popular workshop that Nathan and I built is based on our core philosophy in the academy, which is that you can build and operate your own portfolio in 20 minutes a day. Instead of that just being fluffy words, we decided to break all those workflows down and give them away in one workshop, which includes SOPs and videos on exactly how we do all these tasks. So you can find that workshop at 20minuteinvestor.com. It's perfectly free, and we will send it to you. If you go there, you can sign up and get it right away. So thank you, Nathan. This is always this is a fun little
always.
tradition
Yeah.
we're
Thank you,
starting.
Aaron.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to the next one.
Yeah. Same here. Thank you.
Thank you for making it to the end of today's episode. As you may know, podcasts are very difficult to grow organically. If you're getting value from today's episode, I'd deeply appreciate if you can take 30 seconds to leave my show a 5-star rating and review. This will go a long way to helping me reach more listeners just like you. Thank you so much in advance.